My question is about the topic of using uncomfortable feelings as a doorway to finding the I. And there's one particular video called Going to the Heart of an Emotion, and that's my main reference. And I've watched that video for 4 years, and amongst others. But that one, I keep coming back to it. And it was just the other day, Sunday morning, I watched it for the last time, and it finally came together where I finally understood what you were laying out. And what you laid out was an uncomfortable feeling comes up, and you look for the one who is being upset, the one on whose behalf this uncomfortable feeling is showing up for.
Yeah, that's the Vedantic approach, yes.
Right, and you talk about the two approaches. This is the more intellectual one, and also the more visceral one,
yes,
which I've gotten involved with as well. But getting back to this one, so you keep looking until you find it, but you see that it's really just made out of whole cloth. I call it I forget how you refer to it. It's a false self, separate self. I call it a persona. But there is something there, an entity, that seems to be in charge, that's running the show behind the scenes, but really is just a house of cards. Requires a lot of maintenance and all of that stuff. Once you do that, and then you suggest, do this over and over again whenever uncomfortable feelings come up, you will finally see that the whole bottom falls out to these uncomfortable feelings. You will be left with the true I. And even the sensations that go with it, tight gut, tight chest, stuff like that, those two, which support the false self, they have nothing to support anymore. So those two will melt away. Am I getting this right?
Yes, I'm wondering what your question is going to be. You seem to understand very well.
So the question is, this represents to me what you could call a complete curriculum. And yet, the body part, the concentration and the focus on sensations, it doesn't seem to be really required. And my experience with sensations, I've spent a lot of time with those. I'd wake up in the pre-dawn hours, I'd have a terrible tight gut, and I spent hundreds and hundreds of night times, looking at that until I finally gave up, because I realized what I was doing was just trying to get rid of it. So I don't mess with that anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? I know you you even started the session by talking about, sensations and how important it is getting into the body. But I just couldn't get anywhere with that.
You're right. The pathway that you described is a complete curriculum in itself. It is the direct path to peace. And it's true, nothing else is really necessary. However, even if you take this direct path, you go in search of the self on whose behalf your afflictive emotions arise. You never find it. You trace your way all the way back, and all you find is the inherently peaceful presence of awareness. And to begin with, this is just a glimpse or a recognition, but in time you stabilize in that, or more accurately, as that. However, this recognition, even a series of recognitions, does not by itself put an end to the residues of feeling that lives in the body that in most cases was laid down early on in our lives and was buried, was turned away from early on in our life because it was too unpleasant to face, and remained buried layer after layer. So this accumulated storehouse of residual feelings in the body is not dissolved overnight by the recognition of our true nature. So this further exploration that we do of the body and indeed of the world is a way of inviting, first of all, these buried residual feelings to come out of their hiding place in the body, exposing them to the light of awareness and allowing them to be dissolved in the light of awareness. So it's what Francis once referred to as post-enlightenment sadhana, which sounds rather exotic. It's not exotic at all. It just means that the exploration we do after the recognition of our true nature, with the purpose of realigning the way we feel the body and perceive the world with this new recognition. So that's the purpose of it. But if it doesn't resonate with you, if you're simply happy to take the direct path back to the innate peace of your being and to reside there, then that's fine.
Because when I would wake up and experience these sensations, I actually did learn quite a bit.
Did these sensations take you away from the peace of your true nature?
Absolutely.
Well, in that case, I would recommend during this week together that when we begin to explore the experience, the felt experience of the body, I would recommend that you stay tuned, follow, and I'm sure you will. I don't mean to imply that you are not intending to, that you follow, because it's not self-inquiry. It's not tracing our way back to our essential being. Ramana Maharshi didn't speak of it. Mm-hmm. It's another approach. It comes from the tantric approach of Kashmir Shaivism. You'd never hear Atmananda Krishna Menon or Nisargadatta or Ramana Maharshi speaking about these matters. The understanding was contained subliminally within their teachings, but they were not explicit about it. So here we make it explicit. We make it more of a science. So in fact, it's more of an art of this investigation of the body and the world. Whereas in the original, in the case of Ramana Maharshi and others, it was understood that the realignment of the body and the world was something that just took place naturally and effortlessly. Well, it does in time. We're just giving it a bit of help.
I see. Because the associations, I'm sure you're aware of this, the associations that a person has with these, speaking for myself, they go back, they're ancient in my life. They go back to my earliest experiences. They're always associated with dread,
yes,
forebodings,
yes.
And all that.
You see, the separate self is not just a belief. It's not just the belief, I am a temporary, finite, separate consciousness. It is a feeling, a felt sense of being contracted, separate, apart, other. And in fact, the deeper root of the separate self lies in our feelings, and it is relatively easy to spot the sense of separation in our beliefs. It is less easy to flush the sense of being a separate self out of its hiding places in the body. It's more subtle. The feeling of separation doesn't respond to rational scrutiny, as does the belief. Something more subtle, something less easy to speak about, something less rational. But the reason why Jean Klein and Francis and we here pay so much attention to this aspect of our experience is because I suspect now that if I were to ask how many people here understand that they are not temporary, finite, separate selves, I'm quite sure that most, if not all of you, would put your hand up. But if I were to ask, how many of you feel that you are separate? A lot of us would put our hand up. In other words, there is this discrepancy between what we understand, and I don't mean to knock our understanding. It is genuine understanding. There is a discrepancy between our genuine understanding and the way we feel ourselves. And really, of the two, our felt sense of ourself is the truer. So that's why we place so much importance on it in this approach, so that this understanding doesn't just remain at an intellectual level, which is a genuine understanding. I'm not knocking that, but this understanding is taken deeply into all aspects of our experience. That means not just the way we think, but the way we feel the body, the way we perceive the world, and the way we act and relate with others. And just on that last point about acting and relating with others, that is, for instance, one of the reasons why we don't walk around in silence, not making eye contact with one another. It is illegitimate to hold retreats like that. I'm not criticizing it, but the fact that here there's so much contact between people, it is it's part of the teaching, part of the process of aligning the way we act and relate with this understanding.